What's up, kids? We are live. We are on a go on Kilimanjaro safaris. I don't have any kind of stabilizer for my phone, so it's going to be bumpy. It's going to be noisy. I apologize. I just haven't put a video up in a while, so I figured live is instant. Let's do it.
There's 7.
And I'm going to be a safari guide today.
That's
Caraboonie, Brent. Caraboonie, hello, it's Caraboonie. Welcome. So welcome. Now, folks, your board, go ahead and slide all the way over. We're sitting in a full safari. If your whole party does not fit, more than likely, not your safari. As you get settled, folks, go ahead and pull out those cameras, send them to a sport, fast, or action setting. All right, folks, we got the all clear. So, as I say in Swahili, twin day, which means let's go. So, twin day. Next 2 weeks as we head out with Kilimanjaro safaris across the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Now, we do have a couple of safety things we need to go over. First of all, please remain seated at all times. These roads are so rough and bumpy, we can barely call them roads. This also applies to small children who must remain either on the bench or on the lap at all times. Please no passing parent to parent, and please no reenacting the Lion King. You are not Rafiki, they are not Simba. Also, folks, please remember keep your hands, arms, and feet inside the vehicle at all times. Some very thorny bushes and some very rough rocks. We don't want anybody getting hurt. If you have any valuables, please hold on to them tightly. If you should drop something over the side, raise your right hand, I'll raise my left, and we'll wave goodbye to it together. Now, we will try and get the item back. We cannot guarantee its condition. After all, these are wild animals. Now, coming up on our right, we have our very first wild animal, an okapi. Now, those white stripes on the back legs may make you think he's related to the zebra. He's actually more closely related to a giraffe. Both have the same 7 vertebrae in the neck, the same long prehensile tongue, and the same skin-covered horns known as ossicones on top of the head. Western researchers actually believe the okapi was a myth in 1901 when some Western scientists finally rediscovered it. I say rediscovered because the okapi was always there, we just didn't know he was there. Now, folks, as we continue through the Lilituri Forest, please keep in mind, there are many of you, there is one of me. Please keep your eyes peeled. You have many eyes, I only have 2, and we prefer my 2 stay focused on driving. To help you out with that, if you look straight above yours at this moment, you'll see a handy animal spotting guide that contains every single animal we've ever seen across the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. We won't see them all today, but we will do the absolute best that we can. Now, folks, coming up on the hill on the left, you can see some bongo. Now, these animals prefer to stay hidden so much they are known as the ghosts of the forest. We've also got some light brown animals here. Those are actually female greater kudu. We can tell that they are female because they don't have horns and they're gathered together in a group. Females will have no horns and gather together, while males will have horns and be solitary. Now, folks, as we exit the Lilituri Forest, we're heading into the Sapir River Valley. Here we may find many watering holes where animals like to congregate. It's also a great opportunity to possibly see some hippos or maybe some Nile crocodile.
Sorry, it's bumpy.
Now, folks, off to your right there, through the bush, you're going to see a large hippo out of water. That's a rare sight. Now, hippos very rarely ever come out of the water except to eat or to change from one body of water to another. They actually spend most of their lives in the water, although they don't like to swim. They actually prefer to walk or run along the bed of the body of water that they live in. And if you missed that hippo, folks, off on our left, we've got another hippo under the water. Now, hippos start off about 85 pounds when they're first born. However, they can easily reach 5,500 by the time they're fully grown. Now, these large white birds you're seeing on the island, those are actually pink-backed pelicans. They get their names from a distinctive pink patch they get on their backs during mating season. They're also colonial nesters. You will never find one pelican nest off by itself. They will always be gathered together in groups. Oh, folks, if you look up on the hill here, we got a couple of hippos just snoozing away, as well as another one walking out of water. Uh-huh. Yes, they do. That would be the Wild Africa Trek. Well, folks, please remember, stay seated here. As we look off to your left, you'll see some Nile crocodile. Now, they have gained their reputation as fearsome predators thanks to powerful jaws that can crush the bones of most animals with a single snap. However, those same powerful jaws can actually be quite gentle, as both male and female crocodile will actually carry their unhatched eggs as well as their still defenseless young in their mouth to protect them.
More bumps.
Also, some of the largest crocodilians we may find out here in Africa. Now, as we exit the Sapi River Valley, we're heading into the African savanna. Here we may find many herds of animals as they follow the water or maybe in search of food. There's also been rumors, folks, of a baby giraffe out roaming about, so we'll see if we get lucky and find it. Now, coming up on our right side here, we have a rather unusual looking tree known as a baobab. If you take a look at it, it looks like its roots are up top. It's actually just leafless 8 to 9 months out of the year. That's still long enough for it to gain the nickname the upside down tree. It has another nickname, the tree of life. It gets this nickname from the fact that during the few months it has leaves, it stores a massive amount of water in that gigantic trunk. And then during the dry season, animals such as elephants and antelope will actually poke holes in the trunk and then eat the bark as well to get to the life-saving water. If you're fans of Rafiki from The Lion King, he actually lives in a baobab tree. Oh, please remember, stay seated, folks. Please stay seated. Now, folks, coming up here on our left in just a moment, we're going to have some sable antelope. They were actually chosen as a symbol for Harambe Wildlife Reserve, because when it comes to fight or flight, they will always fight to protect their herd from predators, just as we fight to protect animals from extinction. Those curved back horns are used in displays of dominance, displays of courtship, and also to, of course, defend the herd. The curved back shape being perfect for sweeping a predator off their back. Now, folks, these large dirt mounds we're passing on the left and right, those are actually termite mounds. Termites use soil, mud, animal droppings, and other materials to help create them. They may look brittle and easy to break, but they're actually about as hard as concrete. Interesting fact about them, though, elephants will actually sometimes use them as scratching posts, knocking them over in the process. Antelope, such as the sable antelope, will actually use the knocked over termite mounds as a sort of lookout post to see their predators coming from farther away. Now, folks, coming up on the right here in just a moment, we're about to have some Ankoli cattle, also known as Watusi cattle, after the first African tribe that was able to domesticate them. Those gigantic horns can reach 5 to 6 feet from tip to tip, and sometimes be about a foot in diameter. In the tribe of the Watusi, they're actually a status symbol, the amount of cattle you have indicating how powerful or how wealthy in the tribe you are. Also, up on the ridge to the right, we actually have some wild white-bearded wildebeest, as well as some gnu, or also known as gnu, after a new sound they make. That's G-N-U, not N-E-W. A herd of about 1.5 million wildebeest was once recorded to have gone about 1,000 miles together.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Now, off to our right, oh, folks, if you look beyond the trees, you can see a kind of a short giraffe back there. That is the baby giraffe. It's way back there. Looks like a much smaller version of a giraffe out there, as most babies tend to do. Now, giraffe, all the giraffe you'll see out here are Maasai giraffe. We know they're Maasai because they have the jagged, irregular pattern to their skins. Their cousin, the reticulated giraffe, is the one with the nice, neat lines to their skins. Now, giraffes start off about 6 feet tall when they're born. However, by the time they're fully grown, they can reach about 10 feet tall. And so a group of giraffe like this is aptly named a tower. Now, back by this giraffe, you can actually see one of the world's largest antelope, the Patterson's eland. Eland can stand up to 6 feet tall at the shoulder. That's a male Patterson's eland. We can tell because he's got the grayish tint to his coat. Males will be grayish, while females will tend to be slightly brown. And there, folks, is another better look at the baby giraffe off to your right. Now, one thing giraffe are known for is ossicones, those skin-covered horns on top of the head. Now, in the adults, they're actually bone and are part of the skull. However, in the babies, they start off as cartilage when they're born and lay flat against the head. This actually makes birthing process easier on the mama. However, shortly after the baby is born, the ossicones will start to stand up straight, fuse to the skull, and become bone. Now, folks, coming up on our left here, we've got a troop of mandrill. Mandrill are some of the largest monkeys in the world, and they are well known for their brilliant red, white, and blue faces, as well, of course, as their brightly colored butts. We know they're still monkeys because they still have tails. If a mandrill shows his fangs to any other mandrill, he's probably just smiling at him, but if he shows his fangs to anything else, including you, he's basically saying, get the heck away from me. Elephants, folks. Now, we can't go that way since it looks like the road was washed out. We can tell those are African elephants because they have the much larger ears. Their cousin, the Asian or Indian elephant, is the one with the much smaller ears. Now, more than likely, these two are bulls or males. We can tell because they're off by themselves to be males. We can tell because they're off by themselves to be solitary, while female and young will gather together in groups. A full-grown African elephant, believe it or not, can actually eat about 300 pounds in one sitting. That's the equivalent of you or me eating about 1,200 quarter-pound cheeseburgers. Well, wait a minute here. Well, folks, I know that other road was washed out, but I'd almost prefer to this bridge. Everybody hold on tight. We're going to take it nice and slow and see how we do. Whoa, 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 folks, lean to your right, lean to your right, lean to your right. All right, good job. Let's get off that thing. Good job, folks. Everybody still back there? All right, glad to hear it. If you're not back there, say aye. All right, good. Everybody still knows where you are. Everybody still knows where you are. Well, folks, speaking of elephants, I can actually see signs through here recently. I see tusk marks and footprints. Elephants will actually sometimes knock red clay loose with their tusks and then eat it, gain minerals they would not otherwise have in their diets. Now, another interesting fact about elephants we only just recently learned, they actually don't like bees that much, believe it or not. We can actually use this new information in conservation. See, for years and years, many African farmers have had trouble with elephants trampling all over their crops as the elephants search for food and water. And so the farmers had started setting traps and hurting and harming the elephants to make sure the elephants stayed away from their land. However, now that we know that elephants don't like bees, we found a much more humane solution. We simply build beehive fences around the farmer's land. Now, elephants see and hear the bees, they know they need to stay away from those areas. The crops remain untrampled and the farmers are happy, because not only do they no longer have to harm the elephants, they also get to sell the honey from their new beehives. And we've got another African elephant over there, folks. Now, if you take a look at the back, you may notice that the elephant looks a little dirty. That's because they like to spray themselves with dust, soil, and mud. It acts as a natural sunscreen and also a natural insect repellent for them. Now, coming up on our left here, folks, we've actually got a flamboyance of greater flamingos. That's the colored group of flamboyance. Now, if you take a look at their heads, you may notice that some look a little grayer or whiter than the rest. That may be because they're younger. Greater flamingos start off as little gray fuzzballs when they hatch out of their eggs. However, around year 1 or 2, they've eaten enough brine shrimp to start gaining their distinctive pink color. The brine shrimp contains keratin, and that's what colors their feathers. Alright folks, as we continue across the savannah, please remember, keep your eyes open. You never know what might be lurking around the next corner. Oh, like the white rhinos we've got wallowing in a mud pit, folks. This is one of those rare pictures. Now I know what you may be thinking, they don't look that white. Well, if you look at their upper lips, you'll notice that they have wide upper lips. They were originally known as white rhinos, white meaning wide in Afrikaans. So they were originally known as white for wide-lipped rhino. However, someone misheard white rhino and thought they were saying white rhino, and they got stuck with the name white rhinos. They're actually the larger of the two rhino species we may encounter out here, as they can reach about 5,000 pounds. Believe it or not, they can actually get that 5,000 pounds up to almost 35 miles per hour. They can also gallop when they run, having all 4 feet off the ground like a horse. Unfortunately, many rhinos are often poached for those horns, which some people believe have medicinal or magical properties. They're actually made from the same material, a substance called keratin, that you might find in your hair and your fingernails. Well, folks, if we're gonna find lions, this rock formation on our left is the best place to do. Rock formation. Lions love making stuff like this their homes. It gives them a great view of potential prey and also potential competing predators. However, lions are typically nocturnal and like to sleep about 16 to 20 hours a day. Definitely like to lion around. So if they're awake, we'll get lucky. If not, well, we'll see what we can find. Now off to our right here, folks, you see a couple of antelope laying on the ground. They are actually known as bontebok. Both male and female have the distinctive black lyre-shaped horns. It's actually a treat that we even get to see bontebok at all. Just a few years ago, there were less than 20 bontebok left in the entire world. Thankfully, however, some farmers saved those remaining bontebok on a reserve. And now we still have bontebok in the world. Their numbers have risen to about 200, but sadly they are only still found on reserves. And folks, off to our left, snoozing away, we have the king of beasts. Now that is a male lion. We can tell because he has the giant mane around his head. And folks, on our right, we're about to have a close encounter with an ostrich.
He's right there.
Now, an ostrich is one of the largest birds in the world, but they don't fly. They can't. Instead, they walk or run along the bed. They walk or run using the wings for direction and balance. Now, Now coming up on our left here, folks, we have any fans of Pumbaa? If so, take a look off to your left. We've got some warthogs up on the rocks.
When I was a young warthog.
Now, Pumbaa actually means foolish in Swahili, but warthogs are technically anything but foolish. They will actually dig their underground burrows with their large noses and tusks, and then go into their burrows backwards so that any animal that tries to follow them in be met with a wall of angry tusks. I'd actually call that pretty smart. Now, off to our right here, folks, we've actually got some water buck. Now, they were named that because they're never found that far from a body of water. They also secrete an oily, slightly smelly substance that prevents water from sticking to their hair and their skin. And yes, those were indeed ostrich eggs.
Yeah.
Now, believe it or not, folks, a fully developed ostrich egg is strong enough for a full-grown man to stand on with all his weight, and it will not break. It won't even crack. Now, folks, as we exit the savannah, we're heading into secluded Magadi Glen. I wonder what we'll find back here.
It's true.
Well, folks, coming up on our right, I see a couple of yellow-billed storks. They get their name from their bright yellow bills. They're not the kind of storks you want carrying babies, however. Oh, no. They are well known as carnivores. Anything from insects to fish to frogs to even other small birds. If it fits inside their mouth, they're probably going to eat it. They're not real picky when it comes to meat.
Same.
And now, folks, as we exit Magadi Glen, we're going to begin our trek back towards civilization, back towards the Harambe village. Now, Harambe actually means to come together in Swahili, and that's what we do here at the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. We come together to help out the wild animals. Now, if you'd like to help out wild animals, like ones you may have seen out there on the reserve, you can actually donate at any store here in the parks to the Disney Conservation Fund. Disney will actually make a matching donation.
Hey, Tiny.
And every single dollar goes to help out wild animals. Whether for conservation, education, research, anything that may help them out, Wild Animals of the World will give every single dollar of the donations. And now, folks, I can hear the music of Harambe Village starting to come back through the trees, which means, unfortunately, our 2-week safari is coming to an end. I know, it felt like only 21 minutes. Now, here at Kilimanjaro Safaris, we don't like to say goodbye. We feel that's too sad and too final, and we would like you to come back. After all, every safari is different. So instead, we use a Swahili word, which means to go well, and that is kwaherini. So, folks, I invite you to kwaherini, to go well, go wild, and have a great rest of your day here at Disney's Animal Kingdom. If you have any more questions, my name's Matt, and of course, my windows are always open. Sunday Santa for joining us, folks. If you're a wilderness explorer, you've been aboard the Simba 1. The Simba 1. Sunday Santa for joining us, folks. Have a wild rest of your day.
Thanks for joining us on that. I'm sorry, I know it was bumpy, I know it was loud and crazy, and I wasn't really very interactive, but I haven't posted anything in a while. Let Epcot and still watching the stream. Go grab a cider flight from the Light Lounge for me. Other than that, everybody, thank you for watching. Thanks for joining us. I might go live again. It depends on what we end up doing here at Animal Kingdom. I don't know. We don't have a plan. Hey, Michelle, thank you for joining, and thank you for stopping by. Make sure you check this out again, start to finish. There were some really cool events. If you joined us in the middle, it will be, buffered or whatever shortly. I've said it 3 times now. Thanks for watching. Stay dorky.